Purple Ties Podcast. Great stories of Trevecca Trojans and life on the hill. Welcome in. Greg Gruff along with you with the Purple Ties Podcast number 11. And joining me is Mark Elliott. And glad to have our athletic director with us here. Mark, that is an interesting shirt you have on there tonight. Would you like to?
This is, I told my wife, I said, we're going to go on a podcast. I said, I need to put my dress T-shirt on as opposed to my other T-shirts that I've worn since COVID has started. I haven't been in a pair of khakis, a shirt and tie like I normally do for how many months now. So this is one of my dress T-shirts, and I'm proud to be representing Trevecca and Nashville.
Yep, absolutely. And, well, Michael Johnson is not here with us tonight, but he helped start this and really had the idea behind the whole Purple Ties thing. And the idea was to wear a tie, and you can see neither one of us have a tie on. And I was the one that broke the string, and Michael kind of reminded me of that. I said, oh, thanks if you want to break the string. And I did. I broke the string. But it is the summer, and it's really hot outside. And so I think we can go without the tie. We'll get back to the ties maybe in September. But want to thank Michael for all his help with this, getting the Purple Ties off the ground. And I know he's got a couple of Purple Ties coming up that he's going to do outside of athletics. Don't want to think that the Purple Ties is just athletics, but he's got some interesting stories that he's going to share with some of his Purple Ties podcasts coming up. Also want to thank David Klimkowski, who is in an undisclosed location. We cannot tell where he is, but we will say that he is with his wife, Sarah, who is maybe helping the broadcast more than he is at times. So, but they are in an undisclosed location. But here we are. It is, I was going to say August, but it's actually July. But today, the Great Midwest Athletic Conference provided news that we've been waiting for, working for. This didn't just happen last week. It's been under process for months now, weeks. And just talk about the announcement today that the Great Midwest had that impacts all of our Trevecca athletes.
Sure. The Great Midwest Athletic Conference, we've had meetings weekly. We've been moving towards trying to have a championship season in the fall, having a fall semester that included athletics. And to that end, athletic directors came together and said, what's the best way for us to continue to have a season? There are a lot of conferences that are pushing it off to the spring. There are 22 Division II conferences in the country, 8 regions. Currently, 10 of those conferences, of the 22 conferences, have decided to move their fall sports into the spring, leaving 12 of us. The additional 12 conferences are at least delaying, all of them are at least delaying play for a period of time, some in different amounts. I think the important thing that what we are going to be doing, and let me go ahead and finish about what the GMAC is going to be doing. We're going to be pushing the season back about 3 weeks. The first permissible practice date is going to be the end of August the 28th, and then the first official playing date is going to be September the 24th. Now, some people might say that is this just kicking the can down the road 3 weeks, and then when we get there, we're going to move it on to the spring. Well, that's a possibility. But we wanted to give ourselves the best chance to have a fall season. And so we decided as an athletic director group that's what, and the vote was 11 to 1. The one dissenting vote was to keep it as it was. So nobody wanted to move it to the spring. All of our athletic directors in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference wanted to have a fall season. So then from the Athletic Administrators Council, it moves over to the President's Council, and they voted. I don't know what the vote was, but they did concur that we would move our season back by 3 weeks. And so we are still on tap for a fall season. It's just going to be delayed.
Just a little bit. And one of the things that had been decided previous to this was that the NCAA actually said the amount of games that you can play is going to be reduced in every sport. It was reduced in some of them a little bit different percentages. And since then now, we're looking more and more like it's just going to be conference games. Is that correct in all sports or just some of them?
In most sports, and some of the conferences have elected to do a little bit different things. We're not all doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And primarily that's because the NCAA has given autonomy to the conferences to manage themselves. And then you have to also layer it with the fact that some conferences don't have as many teams, some have a lot more teams. And so, for example, here's the best example I could give you is in basketball, the maximum number of games was 28. They've cut that down to 22 games.
Mm-hmm.
With our women, there are 12 teams that have basketball, and so that means that you play against 11 teams. Well, 22 games is a perfect double round robin for the women. But wait, Ursuline only has women. So there's only 11 men's teams. So the men to play a double round robin will only play 20 games. So women basketball will play only conference members in a double round robin format. The men will play a double round robin format, but they'll get 2 extra games and they'll be able to play 2 non-conference opponents.
Okay. One of the things that I think is unique in this is there are people out there that you wouldn't necessarily think would do this, but there's some other schools out there cheering for our conference and other ones, Major League Baseball, NFL, to get these games in and be able to play and just to provide some sense of normalcy for the fall.
No, it's great point. If I can, I'll share just a quick example of that. The Pac West conference is on the West Coast, obviously, and one of its members is Point Loma, one of our sister schools. They made the decision last week to push the season of the fall seasons back into the spring. When they did that, it was right before we had made our vote. And so I called the athletic director at Point Loma, Ethan Hamilton, and just asked him about why they made the decision, how they went about making the decision. And to be honest, what he said was there were already 2 conferences in their region that decided to push it to the spring. The Hawaii schools who are in their conference decided they would come to the mainland to play, so their schedule started getting trimmed down. And then once Azusa Pacific, who was in their conference, one of the main schools in their conference, decided to go all online, they decided we could have a team, but there's really not many people to play against, so let's push it to the spring. But he hesitated for just a moment. Right after that comment, he said, "Mark, I am really praying for you guys, and I'm really hoping that somebody, somewhere, and I hope it's you all, can actually have a season, because it's going to give us all hope that it can be done. And someone, sometime, somewhere in this United States is going to have to be able to create a conference that's going to play. They're going to have a season. It might be shortened, might not be the greatest experience in the world, but at the same time, we're going to get it done. And that's going to loosen everybody else up. That's going to be the sentinel, so to speak, of other people saying we can do this. Now, we're going to learn from them. We're going to be safe as we possibly can. But we've got a lot of people, Greg, pulling for us that somebody, and it's hopeful that it's going to be the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, can pull this off, do it right, or as best we possibly can, keep our athletes safe, and return somewhat. It'll never be normal, right? But as somewhat normal as we possibly can. So that's our hope. That's our desire, is to have this fall season, and we got people pulling for us to do that.
I know when this announcement comes out and other news comes out, people have a lot of questions, and it's natural. I mean, everybody wants to know, and everybody starts thinking about this and that and how's it going to work. Here's the truth. Right now, we don't know if there will be fans. That's not going to be determined as of yet, and it's not completely in our control or the conference's control or the NCAA's. It has to do with the city, the state, the government, and things like that. It also has to do with whether the virus spreads or more, or gets under control, those type of things. So those answers are not there. But what I would want you to talk about, because I think this is important, is that we have been planning this as an athletic department, as a university, as a city, and you just keep going on up the line to the conference, the presidents. Everybody's been on board with planning this and looking ahead at all the options that lie ahead of us.
I couldn't state any better, Greg. You're exactly right. This is so multi-layered with so many people. I mean, if you think about it, we have a university because there's an educational component here too. That's the most important part of this. We still Christian scholar athlete, right? It's the spiritual first, it's the academic second, it's the athletic third. But within those, we have a lot of students the vast majority of the Trevecca student body is not athletes. And so how are we going to be safe for them? We can't bring the athletes back without bringing them back. We can't have athletics without having classrooms. We can't have athletics without having, other issues that we have to chapel and convocation and other things like that. We have to be able to have those things. And so it becomes super multi-layered. Then you put the layer of the health on top of all that. Yeah. And, you said it, and I couldn't say any better. We have been meeting and planning, trying to get to this place. And it was chasing a moving target. And I think it's funneling down, and we see a deadline, we see a bullseye when we're approaching that. And I think that's kind of really where we are. I can't stress enough the outstanding work of the cabinet, Dr. Boone and his cabinet, Tom Middendorf, Holly, Mariano, all those people, Peg, all those people have spent so much time trying to figure out how can we maintain our integrity, our safety, our academic standards, our spiritual standards, and still have a functioning school, right? They've been working like crazy. The admissions
there's one person, there's a whole lot of people that you want to add in there, but one of them you got to add in there is Jessica Dykes.
She has been the chairman of our COVID return to school committee, and she's getting her doctorate, and she's just been all over the place, and she's really, really in tune to what the school and what the student body needs. And so she's been excellent to work for, super high charged, very organized, moving us in and out of committees to make sure that we understand what it is that it's going to require for us to get back into school. So all of that to say is, it's been quite a chore to get back to this point. But as it's getting closer, the rubber's starting to meet the road, right? We're going to have the buy-in from everybody. And I close my eyes here for just a second, and I'm almost prayerful to say this will not work unless we get buy-in from everybody, from all of our coaches, and I'm talking about specifically sports, but it spreads onto the whole entire campus. And unless we're committed to masking, social distancing, hand sanitizing, and doing all that stuff, it just is not going to work. And so our prayer is that everyone will buy in, everyone will love each other, and have that Christian agape love for everybody that is going to allow us to be able to have a fall season and to have a successful academic semester.
I don't think there's any way that we could end it better than that. I think you summed it up there, because I think it does have to be a buy-in with everybody. I will also mention on our staff, Becky, Tuesday, also Coach Moore and Coach Pierce, Desmond, have done a great job of leading this with all kinds of meetings along with you.
Well, Greg, our leadership group includes yourself as the head of sports, social media, broadcasting, sports information. You have multi layers, but so does Tuesday, so does Desmond, so does Emily and Becky Scott have all teamed together. We've talked every Tuesday and Thursday and planned on what it is we're going to talk to our coaches about. We've broken up into subcommittees. I've gotten all kinds of guidance from all of you all, and it's actually, I think we're closer as a unit, closer as a department because of the time that we spent together. So there are some silver linings in all this COVID cloud.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to get really busy now on the things that we normally do, which is planning seasons and schedules. I would encourage people to check the website. The schedules are not available or ready for you yet, but we will get that information out probably within 7 to 10 days, somewhere in that ballpark. And when we do, we'll share that with everybody so you can go and look at the schedule and see when the games are. We're planning our broadcast and everything else, regardless of what lies ahead. You're going to be able to watch the games, whether it be in person or through live streaming. So, Mark, we got about a minute to wrap this thing up.
One thing that I would say is that when we made the decision to move the schedules back, that made us again go back and change the schedules because we have to redo them. I can't tell you how much time the committee has spent on scheduling, and now we have to redo it again for the third or fourth or fifth time. And so that's, if people ask us what we've been doing this summer, we've been trying to schedule and then redo schedules because something else has occurred and something else has come up. But I'm very, very hopeful. Again, the main thing that I want everybody to understand is that we need everybody's buy-in. This will not happen unless we all do this together. We are poised to do this, maybe unilaterally throughout this entire country. And there are people that are cheering for us to do this. And if we can do it, it might be, as we said about Apollo 13, that great quote, with all due respect, this could be our finest hour.
Absolutely. We're hoping for the finest hour, planning for the finest hour. Mark, thank you for joining us here tonight. And I want to thank DK and Sarah as well for this broadcast. I'll sign off for now. Episode 11 of the Purple Ties podcast is in the books. Purple Ties Podcast. Great stories of Trevecca Trojans and life on the Hill.